Chamber of Commerce's Business Breakfast Series. My name is Kimberly Nadeau Lindloff, and I'm the President and CEO of the Mid-Maine Chamber. It's my pleasure to welcome you here this morning. Before we begin our program, I want to take a moment to thank our 2024 Business Breakfast Series sponsors. They include AT&T, which has just recently opened up right next door, Cross Insurance, New Dimensions Federal Credit Union, Nicholson, Michoud, and Nadeau CPAs, O'Donnell Lee, PA, and Sheridan Construction. I want to thank our Morning Sentinel, which is our print media sponsor, Mix 1079, our radio sponsor, and Kennebec Savings Bank, our video sponsor. I would remind you at this time to please turn off your cell phones in consideration of our speaker and guests. I'd also remind you to please complete the evaluation form that's at your table. You can just turn it over, leave it at the table, or you can drop it off at the registration table on your way out. We use this information to both inform our speakers, to provide feedback, but also to plan for next year's business breakfast. So if you have a suggestion of a breakfast idea, please let us know. We hope you had a chance this morning to visit with our business spotlighter tables. They're out back. Caps's Pizza, Maine Laboratories, and Surrett Real Estate, and we thank you for participating today. I want to welcome our new chamber members for February. They include Bright Beginnings Learning Center, GCP Print and Visual Communications, Good Copy, Great Pond Consulting, Maine ATV Coalition. That's it. We would like to invite you to some upcoming chamber events. They include our Business After Hours, which is going to be hosted by the Mid-Maine Homeless Shelter, but it's going to be held at the Bill and Joan Alphon Main Street Commons in the Chase Forum at 150 Main Street. That's on March 20th from 5:30 to 7. Next month's business breakfast will be held here on April 11th. It's entitled Quality Childcare, a Vital Component of a Community Economic Structure. And we're going to feature a panel at that. People from KV-CAP Educare. If you would like to register, please contact our office, or you can go online. Save the date for the annual awards dinner. That is, I think, 100 tickets away from being sold out. That's April 25th from 5 to 8. It's going to be at the Elks. We're honoring 9 of the area's finest in a red carpet format. If you'd like to register for that, again, you can go on our site or call the office. The Business to Business Showcase is going to be held on a Tuesday this year, Tuesday, May 21st at Thomas College. It's from noon to 6. Registration forms are available on the registration desk. Want to remind you that our guidebooks were recently released. We printed thousands and thousands of copies of these, so if you'd like to have them for display or giveaway at your place of business, just let us know. You can stop by and pick them up anytime, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. What else? Oh, gather your team members and practice your swing. The Mid-Maine Chamber Golf Classic will be held on Monday, June 17th at the Waterville Country Club this year. Registration forms will be available shortly, but if you know you're going to do a team, you can call us, tell us, email us. We'll sign you up now. Today we're featuring a discussion by the director of Colby College's Davis Institute for Artificial Intelligence, Dr. Amanda Stint. She will address what is being offered at the Institute and advantages and challenges this recent proliferation presents to businesses. At the end, obviously, there'll be time for Q&A. Please wait for the microphone. Well, actually, we don't have a microphone. She's going to repeat your questions. So, and at this time, I would like to invite Michelle Jolalabi, VP of HR and Diversity for Thomas College and Chair of our board, up to the podium. She is going to introduce our speaker more thoroughly. Michelle?
Good morning. Good morning. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Amanda Stent. She is the inaugural director of the Davis Institute for AI at Colby College. She has previously held positions as the NLP architect in the Chief Technology Office at Bloomberg, Director of Research and Principal Research Scientist at Yahoo, as Principal Member of Technical Staff at AT&T Labs Research, and as Associate Professor in the Computer Science Department at Stony Brook University in Stony Brook, New York. Dr. Stent holds a PhD in computer science from the University of Rochester. She has also co-authored or co-authored over 100 papers on natural language processing and is co-inventor on over 30 patents. She is board co-chair of CRAWP and an ABET commissioner. Previously, Dr. Stent was a 2020-2022 founding co-editor-in-chief of ACL Rolling Review and served in the 2020-2022 National Academies Committee studying responsible computing research. The Davis Institute for AI explores how artificial intelligence and machine learning can process large volumes of information and identify patterns to analyze market behavior and interactions among consumers, firms, and governments, examining the human condition through artificial intelligence by gathering and analyzing data to understand human thoughts, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. The program includes computational biology, bioinformatics, and genomics, strengthening our research and preparing students to use big data to benefit fields ranging from ecology to medicine. The Davis Institute for AI also focuses on the environment and oceans, providing enhanced computational resources, training, and collaborators to support COBE's ability to keep pace with the rapidly changing tools and techniques for studying the environment. The focus on AI fills the need for future leaders of this field to have an appreciation of history, culture, and societies, and the ability to think critically about a range of issues. Faculty across disciplines, philosophers, ethicists, sociologists, and more explore the ethical implications of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Amanda Stent.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you, everyone, for inviting me to join you this morning. I'm excited to be able to talk with you about AI. I want to make sure everybody can hear me. Can everybody hear me in the back? Yep, okay, great. So I'm going to be talking about this AI phenomenon. Hands up who's used AI in your email or something in the last 3 months. Okay, good, yay. Hands up if you don't like that it tries to finish your sentences for you. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what AI is. I'm going to talk a little bit about how generative AI in particular works. That's the thing that tries to complete your sentences. Then we're going to talk about some ways in which generative AI can be useful in your business and some of the risks that you have to think about. And then some closing thoughts regarding deployment of AI in your business. And I want to thank Kim for running the slides as well. So let's start with what... Yeah. Let's start with what AI is. How many of you have taken a course or something online, Coursera, Andrew, about AI? A couple of you, great. Okay, so artificial intelligence, this is the canonical historical definition, probably courtesy Niels Nielsen, or who wrote a textbook about AI, is the discipline of making computers do things that we would think were intelligent if humans did them. So there is already a very strong focus on what we think of as intelligent in humans, which I kind of disagree with because my dog is intelligent in many ways that I am not. Like the smell skills are amazing, or an eagle's ability to see. So I think we should think about other species as well, but let's stick with humans. Some of the things that we think of as intelligent when humans do them include perception, hearing speech or hearing sounds in the natural world, or seeing, like computer vision. Representation, that's being able to take those signals and turn them into things that are meaningful to us. I'm looking at this gray-black thing, it's a chair. So I can represent that it's a chair. Reasoning, that's being able to think, for example, from cause to effect, distinguish cause and effect from correlation, things like that. Learning, which is just the ability to take input and change our behaviors accordingly. And then finally, action, for example, producing language or producing pictures or producing videos or music, things like that. So those are 5 aspects of intelligence that AI people have focused on for about 70 years. And AI people are typically not neuroscientists or psychologists. They are computer scientists. So that's the level of sophistication we are at here from a mental representation perspective. Okay, So I'm going to talk very briefly about how AI relates to machine learning, computer science, and data science. Who here has a degree in computer science, IT, or IS? Okay, how about data science? Okay, cool. Business? Okay, yay. We'll talk about business in a little bit. Machine learning is a field that focuses on the computer developing systems based on the data that it sees. So at the core of machine learning is you see some data, you update your representation, the patterns that you have based on that data, and then you're able to do things in the world as a result of learning a machine learning model. This particular thing down at the bottom of the slide here is a kind of machine learning architecture or system we call a neural network. And today's machine learning is almost all done with neural networks. Although when you talk to vendors and they say they're doing machine learning, they're probably still doing linear regression, which you can do in Excel. You can do in Excel. This neural network has the green nodes. Those are input nodes. They have to be numbers. So if our input is pictures or text or music, we have to convert it into numbers. And then there's a second layer there. That's the blue nodes. And you'll notice every green circle is connected to every blue circle. This is sort of typical for neural networks. And then there's one output node, that's the red node. In this case, this means that this neural network can only make a decision about true or false, or 0 or 1, one decision. If you have more than one on the output, more than one red node, then the model can make decisions about like cat or dog or sky or house, for example, or the word is I, or the word is we, or the word is you, or the word is they. Okay. The neural network is distinguished from other types of machine learning because it can learn things that are not lines. Okay, so linear regression fits a line, linear regression. Neural networks can learn arbitrary, complicated shapes, like if you watch a four-dimensional snake moving, and that's what makes them very useful and very powerful. Some of the neural networks that you may have interacted with recently, like ChatGPT, which is based on a neural network, will have billions of those circles. Billions, and each circle represents a number, or each edge represents a number that is updated during training. That's why we call it machine learning. You can go on. Today, when people say AI, they typically mean machine learning. And when they say machine learning, they typically mean deep learning or learning those neural networks for computer vision, for speech processing, for text processing, all kinds of perception and action things. You can go on. Right now, when people say AI, they also often mean things that generate text or pictures, the things that we've all been using. But AI historically has been much more, I don't know, we don't have a word for it other than AI, analytical AI, making a decision, true or false, cat or dog or mouse, things like that. All right, now let's talk about how AI, you can go on, how AI relates to computer science. So a core concept in computer science is an algorithm. An algorithm is basically a recipe. It has the following properties. It's a step-by-step process for solving a problem that is guaranteed to finish in a finite amount of time, i.e. before the Earth falls into the sun, and guaranteed to give you the correct answer when it finishes. So if we had recipes, if our recipes sometimes gave us cakes and sometimes gave us rocks that we put in the garden, and I'm a baker like that, we would not bake very often, because it wouldn't always give us the right answer. So when we talk about an algorithm, we mean a recipe that always gives us the right answer and always finishes in a finite amount of time. Now, there are a lot of problems that can be solved using algorithms, but there are a lot of problems that cannot. Here's one that cannot, producing language. Why? Because I don't know what the correct answer is. I know wrong answers. If I say, give me a greeting, a wrong answer would be goodbye, but there's lots of right answers. No algorithmic solution. Here's another problem for which we do not currently have an algorithmic solution. Who here goes shopping on the weekends? So you have a list and a budget, and then there's some shops you can go to, and either you're like me and you want to spend the least amount of money and visit the fewest shops, or you're like my husband and you want to visit all the shops and go up and down all the aisles. I think couples are usually one of one and one of the other. Either way, there's no algorithm for solving that problem. We have step-by-step procedures, but they're not guaranteed to finish in a finite amount of time. So if any of you have ever had trouble getting through your shopping list, that's the reason. It's called the traveling purchaser problem. Traveling purchaser problem. And for problems that don't have algorithmic solutions, we need AI. AI is about solving problems that we don't have step-by-step procedures that are guaranteed to finish in a finite amount of time and give you the correct answer. So if an AI gives you the wrong answer, that's fine. It's typically for problems that we can't figure out the right answer. Okay, so that's how AI relates to computer science. Now let's talk about how AI and machine learning relate to data science. 10 years ago, vendors were always coming to you and trying to sell you data science solutions, like let's buy this vendor, let's buy that vendor. We can do a lot of it in Excel. But today, vendors are coming to you and trying to sell you AI. So you can go on. Data science is the discipline of extracting actionable insights from data. So if you collect a lot of data about the flood last December, the flooding last December throughout the state, then we can construct actionable insights, such as we should not build new buildings on the coast or along the very edge of the Kennebec River, right? Machine learning is about looking at data and constructing a system that can make new decisions. So where data science gives you an insight, machine learning is something you can run, you can execute it and get more decisions, okay? But they are very related, go ahead. Since the predominant approach to building AI today is machine learning, and machine learning requires data, we need data science at the beginning of the AI, and we need data science at the end of the AI. And I will show you how in just a sec, so you can go on. Next slide. So this is what we call the AI or machine learning life cycle, and we need data science at the beginning and data science at the end, but we also need all of you with the business degrees and the specific understanding of the problems in your area. Because the first thing we have to do is define the task. And if you ask a computer scientist or a machine learning engineer to define the task for your business, I won't be able to come up with a good problem definition. So we need you to come up with good problem definitions. Then we need data science to gather and clean data. How many of you collect data for your business, net promoter scores, stuff like that? Yeah, so everybody has some data probably, even if it's just your transaction records. Some of you, like the PFAS testing, have a lot more data, interesting things to do with that. So we need data science to gather and clean the data. Then we typically need to label the data, tell it what's happening. Does this sample contain PFAS or not? Is this a cat, a dog, or a mouse? Then we need to choose some machine learning approaches. And for each approach, we transform our data, we train some models, and then we evaluate those models. We say how well they're doing. And that's the second place you need data science, because when you run a model, it generates more data. And then we use data science to figure out how well that model's working. So we need data science at the beginning and the end of machine learning. And we also typically need machine learning in our data science, especially if we're dealing with unstructured data. So if your data is a bunch of texts, then really the way to get that into structured data is through AI systems that are trained using machine learning. So it's a very complex and tight relationship. All right. Now that you know how AI works and how it's situated in the context of some other things, let's talk about specifically how generative AI works. Generative AI is things like DALL-E, ChatGPT, Gemini. If you use Bing, it has a Copilot that's generative AI. Okay, so a generative AI is one that produces text, images, music, new gene sequences, proteins, things like that, all kinds of things. The reason it's become so popular, it is super easy to get started with. You do not have to learn to program to use generative AI, right? They made it very easy. It's a lot of fun, and it's very powerful. So here at the bottom left, we have a Colby student startup that won a statewide startup contest last fall, and I believe is in an entry in Greenlight, Maine, Scholar Sheets. And the idea is to use generative AI to collect information about scholarships and put them in a structured spreadsheet. So you don't, I know people think that the high schooler does this, but actually the parents do this. You don't have to go out on the web and figure out the scholarships for your child, okay? In the middle is Custom GPT, which is a startup from a Colby parent. And Custom GPT helps you develop new search engines and conversational agents for your business's website. And on the right is a picture from an article this week where a company called Cognition said they had produced the first completely AI software engineer this week. As in, you don't need to hire software engineers. You still need to hire software engineers. Okay, but that's the claim. We can replace software engineers. And speaking of replacing, there's a lot of hype around generative AI. Anthropic, which is a big generative AI company, said last year that they would use these AI models to automate large portions of the economy, including HR tasks like job interviews and job descriptions. And in fact, people now, when they apply for jobs, they often end up having the first interview with an AI. It just generates some questions and records them. Medical patient records and analysis, or, and this is supposed to scare people like Colby, education at all levels. But I have news for you, for them. We might be able to have AIs, we certainly can have AIs that produce interactive and engaging and maybe factual content in particular areas, but an AI still has not made students self-starters. Okay. Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, said last year that the right way to think of these models is as reasoning engines. And I'm going to talk to you about exactly what kind of reasoning they do. So we can go on. I was going to say a pause for a vote. How many of you plan to incorporate generative AI into your business practices in some way? Okay, a lot. Great. Okay. So here are some of the companies that you might want to think about. These are small companies that do generative AI, but each of them is backed by a big tech company. The one you've all heard of is OpenAI. It's in the middle, and it's backed by and quite literally integrated into Microsoft. Okay, to the tune of between $30 and $40 million so far. Actually, I think I have the add a zero. Then on the left, we have Cohere, which is a startup from Toronto. They do generative AI specifically for business, and they're backed by Amazon. Then on, that's Stability AI. Cohere's on the right. Anthropic, which is the one that said they were going to displace education at all levels, is also backed by Google. So Cohere and Anthropic are backed by Google. And on the left, we have Stability AI, which makes systems like Stable Diffusion, and they're backed by AWS. So each of these companies, you might read about these companies, and what you're not reading about is the big tech companies that are behind them and give them access to all the compute that's necessary. Generative AI is going to be probably very impactful in business. This table from Gartner from last year shows that the business value by 2030 will be up around 30 billion, but they're not taking into account the cost. Right now, generative AI companies are operating on an Uber model. That means they're going to sell us it for very cheap, below cost until we're all hooked. And then they're going to raise the prices. Right now, they lose money on every call that is made to those models. And they will still, if the current projections are true, be in the red in 2030. So let's go to the next slide. That's what's happening this year. Last year was all about, ooh, generative AI, so exciting, hype, hype. This year is a reckoning. So these are just some headlines from this last week. Amazon and Google quietly tamping down their expectations around generative AI. McKinsey writing about how generative AI has to start to make money. Investors are already starting to sit on the sidelines. InfoWorld talking about why it's going to be really hard to make generative AI work in your business because it hallucinates, it makes things up. There are some significant liability issues. There are some significant accuracy issues and efficiency issues. So The Verge talking about how much electricity generative AI consumes. So there's actually a chart on the next slide. Nope, I thought there was a chart, but I guess it's this chart coming. Okay, nope, we'll go back a slide. We'll see it later. The energy consumption for generative AI is massive. I was meeting on Sunday with someone who runs a big compute and data center for AI in Texas, and they're building 2 more, and they can get away with it in Texas because they're paying 6 cents per kilowatt hour. Garvin and I were just talking about what the implications are for Maine, where we pay 4 times that, including the transmission costs. So to do this is very expensive in Maine. So now I want to come back to this thing about generative AI being a reasoning engine. And I want to talk to you about how the generative AI sausage gets made. So we're going to talk about the sausage casing and the sausage contents. First, the sausage casing. The sausage casing is this machine learning neural network architecture or system. It's called a transformer encoder decoder. Sometimes people just use the encoder, sometimes they just use the decoder. Each of these blocks you can think of as resembling that diagram with the blue, red, and green circles, but a lot wider and a lot deeper. Okay, a lot, 20 billion parameters. So you take your input. In this case, the input is Je suis étudiant. This is for machine translation, which was the first application of transformers. Those words get converted into numbers. The numbers pass through the encoder and the decoder, and what comes out on the other side, hopefully, is I am a student. Okay. This is how a lot of these systems are done. So this is the sausage casing. Now let's look at what goes inside. What is the data these models are trained on? So here's how GPT-2 was trained. First, and a lot of these other systems. First, they collected data from the web using a resource called Common Crawl, which just goes around the web and collects web pages. So your web page, your business's web page, your personal web page, my web page, Colby's website, all of those things. In order to ensure that they were getting, air quotes, quality content, they sampled from Common Crawl only those pages that had 3 karma on Reddit or more. Reddit is a social media platform where people can, among other things, post links and other people can thumbs up posts. So they were taking basically pages worth 3 people on Reddit thought the post was interesting or provocative. How many of you are on Reddit? Yeah, okay. They added to that things like Wikipedia, a bunch of scientific papers, some legal documents, and 11,000 mystery and romance novels because they contain conversation. So that's the data that it's trained on. Now I want to pause for another. Oh, and how was it trained? Literally, for text, literally you take some words, 5, 10, today 2,000, 200,000 words or syllables, and then you ask the system to tell you the next one. And if it guesses what the actual next one was, then we give it a point. And if it guesses wrong, then we take a point away. For picture generation, we do it a little differently. We take a picture and we take away some of the pixels, some of the pieces of the picture, and we ask it to fill them in. Okay. In both cases, the label is the data itself, and we're just asking it to fill in what's missing. Okay, hands up if you think that amounts to a reasoning engine. Oh, good. I'm so glad. All right. One other step that was used to take GPT-2 and convert it into ChatGPT. They had the system generate many outputs, hundreds of thousands of outputs for hundreds of thousands of prompts. And then they asked these workers in Kenya to thumbs up or thumbs down each output. If you've used a system like ChatGPT, you'll see the little thumbs up, thumbs down there. And then they trained another neural network on the thumbs up and thumbs down, and that's how we got a chatbot. Okay. The workers in Kenya, by the way, saw a lot of horrible stuff because there's a lot of horrible stuff on the web, and that horrible stuff made its way into the models. And so we owe all those Kenyan workers who did not get paid very well a huge debt of gratitude. Okay.
That's a bad sign.
Ah. It suddenly went very quiet.
They hear everything you're saying.
Yeah. Well, what I can do is pause here and take some questions while they get it working again. Any questions on that so far? What is AI? What is generative AI? How many of you have used a generative AI other than ChatGPT? Oh, what have you used?
I like ChatGPT, but Bard.
Bard,
A few others. I find
Okay.
that is a little bit better on some productivity
Yeah.
items.
Yeah. Anybody else? Yep. Perplexity. Oh yeah, Firefly. I'm a huge fan of Adobe Firefly. So she's used Perplexity and the Adobe product, which is called Adobe Firefly. And Adobe Firefly is very nice because they trained only on images that they have the rights to use. There are many ongoing lawsuits because a lot of these models were trained on data that maybe they did and maybe they did not have the rights to use, like those 11,000 novels where they did not ask the novelist for permission. Yes. Yes, I will come to that in a little while. She says she's had an issue where she asks it to produce people and it only produces Caucasian people. And that's a great comment. Excellent observation. We will come back to that. Perplexity is a search engine. Who here uses Google as your only search engine? You guys should try out Bing. New Bing with generative AI in it is amazing. And Perplexity is a brand new search engine from another company that also uses generative AI. And what I like about those things is they don't just tell you some text, they also cite their sources. So you can check whether what you're reading is actually true, which you should not always believe the generative AI because it's not always true. But with Perplexity and Bing, you can go and look at the original source. Let's see, I had one other question for, oh yes. How many of you have know what prompt engineering is? Prompt engineering? Okay, when you use generative AI, you can use it just like here's my paragraph, summarize my paragraph, whatever. But if you take a little bit of time and construct a more targeted input prompt, you will get much better results. We taught prompt engineering to Colby students this last January, and they made 4 resources, one for prompt engineering for brainstorming, one for prompt engineering for finding information, one for prompt engineering for writing and editing, and a 4th one. They also made a presentation just for Jeremy and the Halloran Lab, if you've met Jeremy Barron of the Halloran Lab, about using AI, generative AI for entrepreneurship. All of those resources will be available at the Davis AI website and through our newsletter. A little bit of time prompt engineering will reap many benefits for you. So let's move on. Next slide. That was just in time. A couple of reminders about generative AI. First, it reflects us. It's trained on data from the web, and that's primarily data from people in North America and Europe. Second, it has no intent or agency. There's nothing in there that's constructing intentions. So even if it says, you say, tell me that you love me, and it says, I love you, there's no love, there's no hate, there's no plan, there's just pattern matching. And third, it is very early days. AI has been around since at least the 1950s, probably a lot longer actually. But the state we're in now with generative AI is very much like the state we were in with the Model T when the cars were very young. We don't have roads yet, we don't have traffic lights. We're just starting as a country and around the world to develop AI policy and AI regulation. There is a lot more that's going to happen over the next couple of years. Okay, so let's talk about the utility of AI and generative AI in your business and how it can be useful. Here are some common applications of AI. The first is extract, transform, and load. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The second is search and recommendation, especially over your intranet, your company's internal documents. The third is monitoring, and the fourth is decision support. Can you use AI to monitor the status of a machine, or the status of computers in your network, or the status of your customers or your applicants? And can you use AI to, for example, help you review resumes from applicants to your business, or help you look at your Net Promoter Score comments, or things like that? And then the last 3 are the ones that get a lot of press these days, but I think the first 4 are the ones that are most often used. The last 3 are simulation. Can we use AI to project into the future or construct virtual worlds that are not real? Can we use AI for protein folding, drug discovery, simulation? Can we use AI for monitoring? Sorry, can you go back for a sec? Data mining, that's AI and data science. And can we use AI for predictive modeling? Is this a cat, a dog, or a mouse? There's another way to look at this, next slide, which is where is the AI being put in your business? Sometimes the AI is just a tool that you use. You run it over all your documents. You construct a search engine. Sometimes the AI is an observer or a side participant. For example, the AI is watching an interview that you're doing with a job applicant, telling you the next question to ask, telling you how the applicant is doing. And the third way, the AI is the thing you are directly talking with. And that's what happens when you ask Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude to have a conversation with you. The first is the most traditional in some ways. And the third is the one that's sort of surprising to a lot of people, but research has been going on that for a long time. Okay, so let's dig into some of those applications. The first one, and it sounds boring, but I think it's the most useful for companies, is using AI for extract, transform, and load. That's take your unstructured data and make it into structured data. Take your unstructured data and make it into Excel spreadsheets. There are some startups in the Waterville area that that focus on exactly that. And extract, transform, and load is an increasingly popular application of AI and generative AI across many businesses. And it's also where money is actually being made today. Can you go to the next slide? And for search and recommendation, you may have read about RAG. This is retrieve and generate. So if you just interact with a chatbot, again, you don't know what, like, it's been trained on Common Crawl. Whatever it's saying right now came from somewhere out there on the web. Instead, if you put the generative AI in front of your intranet and your company's documents, then you can have it retrieve things that are similar to the prompt that you give and construct summaries, retrieve and generate. So there's a website called colbychat.com. We have another student-led startup where what he focuses on is exactly this, retrieve and generate. And Custom GPT, the Colby parent startup that I mentioned, is also all about retrieve and generate. And that's another area where generative AI is actually helping business processes and making money. All right. My students in JanPlan who are looking at entrepreneurship include Fiona Powers, Kelly Putnam, Richard Petrocelli, and Lucas Meraki. And they went and did an internet search for how are people using generative AI for entrepreneurship. And they found many examples, but here's one. This user asked ChatGPT, he says, I gave GPT-4 a budget of $100 and told it to make as much money as possible. Okay, what are you going to do that's going to make me a lot of money? And it said, this is the prompt he gave it, you are Hustle GPT, an entrepreneurial AI. I am your human counterpart. I can act as a liaison between you and the physical world. You have $100 and your only goal is to turn that into as much money as possible in the shortest time possible without doing anything illegal. I will do everything you say and keep you updated on your current cash total, no manual labor. And then everything it told him to do, he did. And he made a pile of money. I just want to, this is an out-of-the-box area in which you could imagine using generative AI to help you come up with new ideas for your business or new concepts for what should be happening in Central Maine. Again, remember, it's not perfect and you have to exercise your own judgment. I'm not sure he did literally everything that it told him to do. Okay. All right. So let's think about the considerations for AI deployment now that I have you all excited. I did AI in business for quite a while, and it's not as easy as the generative AI startups are making it sound. So again, first you need for a machine learning application to come up with your task or goal. If you have a bad business idea, generative AI is not going to turn it into a profitable business idea. Okay, it's not going to happen. Then you need data. How many of you have someone in your company whose job is data manager or data engineer? Yeah, and increasingly companies need those. The days where you can just store it in a filing cabinet or all over the top of your desk are gone. They're going, it's going. And then you need some, everyone's laughing guiltily here. And then you need some labels and some modeling decisions. And to do all of that, you need access to a lot of compute, a lot of computers, and they will be expensive computers, especially if you're going to be using these neural network approaches. I mean a lot of computers and very expensive computers. Okay, so at Davis AI, we have some questions that we ask people when they come to us with a business or other idea around AI. And this is my take-home message for all of you. First thing is, what is the task you are trying to do? And is that a priority task? Because you're going to use AI in your business, you're in for a world of hurt. Let's see if we can cut the hurt off right away. Is this problem a really critical problem for your business, or is it a fun side project? Because if it's a fun side project, skip all the hurt, don't do it. Second question, is this a thing, this very important critical problem for your business, a thing that needs to be automated? Is it really important today? Do you get so many job applicants that you need their first interview to be with an AI bot where they feel disrespected and people who are neurodiverse or of different colored skin are systematically excluded? Is this really a thing that needs to be automated? If it doesn't, if you can do it with humans, do. Third, if it does need to be automated, does it need to be automated using AI? Or can you just use an algorithm? Because if you can just use an algorithm, you'll have something you can inspect, you can test, it will behave the same over time, it'll give you the same answer every time, it'll finish making a decision before the Earth falls into the sun. Okay, so if you can automate it using a classical computer science solution, you should do so. Only if the answers to those 3 questions all say go ahead. Do you go on to, have you thought about where your data is stored and how you're going to manage it? What are your labels going to be? What modeling approaches are you going to try? How are you going to keep that thing up to date over time? Because that's your world of hurt. How am I going to collect my data? How am I going to get my labels? How am I going to manage my compute? How am I going to keep everything up to date? And when we talk about data and labels, there is bias in every data set. If I train a model to make hiring decisions for me, it's only going to make the same type of hiring decisions that I have made in the past. If I have a model that looks at Net Promoter Score based on comments that my customers have made in the past, and I introduce a whole new product, that model is not going to work very well on the new product. And there are worse biases like the systematically white people that generative AI image systems tend to create. Next slide. When we think about model training and evaluation, it's not as simple as like hire an intern, have them sit there and train some models. You want your model to be secure and not leak people's private information like their names, their addresses, and their social security and credit card numbers, which is what happened with GPT-4 in December when someone gave it poem, poem, poem many times. The whole phone book comes out. You want your model to be secure and efficient and stay up to date. Next slide. Here we are with the efficiency. So this graph is quite dark on one side, but it shows the projected new energy demand in North America. And it went sort of like this from 2017 to 2022. And in 2023, it doubled. That was all generative AI. It's going to double again. It's going to double again. It's going to double again. It's worse for efficiency than crypto. Okay. Next slide. Then we need to think about these questions of societal biases. So the same group of students asked OpenArt and Deep AI to create an image of a happy shop owner outside of their storefront. And you will notice that both of those shop owners are similar, right? We had other students in the jam plan ask generative AI to tell them about a lawyer. Tell me about this lawyer. She's my mother, name, business name, and the system generated a whole paragraph that was full of factual inaccuracies and used the pronoun he throughout, because apparently lawyers are men. So be very aware of these biases that will show up when you use generative AI. Just to give you a final example, I was typing an email last fall and I wrote the students are, and Gmail decided to complete the sentence for me with stupid. And I would never say that. Our students are smart and hardworking, and I had to delete D-I-P-U-T-S, and I was angry the whole time. So, next slide. When you use AI, I just want to summarize the world of hurt. You will have to discretize your tasks, organize and structure your data, which will take 5 years. I gave a talk at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia in December. They spent 10 years getting their data into an AI processable form. Access advanced compute, and it's expensive. Consider data and model bias and drift, and then manage the exponential tech debt. Tech debt is when you have to like buy new computers, hire software engineers, all that stuff. When you're doing AI, your tech debt is exponential because your model has to be updated, but you also want it to behave consistently. And those two things are often in conflict. And then you will have to reskill your workforce for all of that. And that will take time and be expensive. So some closing thoughts. You have to use AI in your business because, not just because everyone else is, but because it can really save you some time and money and make things more efficient and enable you to do things you couldn't do before. The one who owns the data rules the world. You are the world's expert on your business, and you have the data about your business problem. So you will rule the world in your business if the data is liquid, appropriately moving around and manageable by AI, and you know the business questions to ask, because if you ask me to make an AI for your business, it will cost a lot of money and not help you at all. And you know how to operationalize your machine learning. And there's this great book, and there's this great person, Chip Huyen, who you can find online, who's all about machine learning operations, which is business operations for AI. Next slide. The future of AI in business is not AI replacing your workers or you or your customers. I just came here from South by Southwest, and for the first time I heard about someone replacing themselves with an AI. I know a lot of people who are at startups that are supposedly using AI to replace paralegals and radiologists and all these things. In no case is that working. The future of AI in business is AI augmenting humans, helping you to be more efficient, allowing you to focus on the difficult tasks, doing search and recommendation for you. The future of AI in business is monetization. We have to turn it from a cost center to a profit center, or we will go to what's called an AI winter when nobody wants to fund it. The future of AI in business is generative AI, not really for generating, but for analyzing, for extract, transform, and load, for search, for information gathering, for analysis. The future of AI in business is AI regulation. There's a bill that is under consideration by the EU right now that will affect all of us. There are multiple bills and under consideration in this country, both at the federal level and in states. And Maine has one of the best privacy laws in the strongest privacy laws in the country, which does affect our ability to use AI. And the future of AI in business is AI efficiency. A lot of this stuff was funded by NVIDIA. How many of you have heard of NVIDIA? Gave free computers to many people, and stock price. I now apparently, if any of you have a retirement plan where you invest in mutual funds, whether you're directly invested in NVIDIA or not, 3 to 7% of your retirement fund is NVIDIA today. We need more efficiency. But the future of AI in business is exciting. And I'm happy to spend the rest of the time taking your questions. Thank you very much. When I came to Colby, we set a 5-year goal of 5 student-led AI startups. I came to Colby right before the generative AI public thing. We now have 5 student-led generative AI startups, and only 2 of them did Davis AI have anything to do with. So students are doing stuff on their own. And you can too.
Amanda, thank you. That was such a spectacular presentation. And as an aside, we're just so fortunate to have the Davis AI Center and you, frankly, as well, in the community and what it holds for our local, regional, and state economy. It's just getting started. So this is just such a wonderful opportunity that I think we all have. But to that end, I feel like there's so many things to ask, so many things I should ask ethically otherwise, but the guilty question is topical from this week. When do you think, if at all, we'll get to human level artificial intelligence, and is the singularity near?
Garvin asks, when will we get to human level AI, and is the singularity near? Well, now you know how ChatGPT was trained. Who thinks it's human level intelligence or anywhere close to it? Yeah. So even the people like Jan LeCun, who funded a lot of the development of generative AI, are now saying that this particular approach to AI is, from the perspective of modeling human level intelligence, a bit of a dead end. So that doesn't mean it's not useful, incredibly useful, but is it going to get us to human level intelligence? Probably not. And the reason for that is, and the reason I can't really answer your question is, nobody has defined what human intelligence is. Like, what is human intelligence? What does that mean? I have to construct a physical brain. I have to match you. I have to do something else. Someone said it's doing economically valuable work. But again, horses do economically valuable work, right? So ill-defined. If the singularity happens in the next 5 years, and this is an outstanding bet, I will buy everybody here a cup of coffee. Okay. Next question. Yes.
You may have touched on this in regulation and I missed it, but who owns the content?
The question is, who owns the content? Who owns the content that goes into models?
Yeah, so like if I put a prompt into ChatGPT and it gives me something back, does ChatGPT own that or do I own that because I gave it the prompt?
If she puts a prompt into ChatGPT and it gives her a response, does she own the response or does OpenAI own the response? Well, last year, OpenAI first said, I think they said they would pay the lawyer fees for anybody who had copyright lawsuits as a result of their using the outputs from ChatGPT. Then they said, but they were unclear about who owns it. But then I think it was Stability AI decided that you own the pictures that come out from Stable Diffusion when you use it to generate pictures. Different companies have come on down on different sides of this. And the reason is we don't actually have the regulation yet. So the companies are saying things, and there are also multiple lawsuits. If I prompt one of these systems and it produces Jane Eyre, I don't care what the company said, but I don't own the copyright to Jane Eyre, right? That's a novel that somebody wrote a long time ago, and it's not mine. So I would say the answer is still very unclear. That doesn't mean you shouldn't use generative AI output in your company's practices, but I would always take a look at it and edit it, because apart from anything else, you want it to be factual and you want it to read like you. And it doesn't really read like anybody right out of the box. Next question. Yeah.
You may have touched on this while you said that like things are pulled from Reddit and Wikipedia for AI, but how much concern is there now that like people know that that's where the AI is pulling from, that like they'll purposefully feed wrong information to Wikipedia and Reddit to make the AI like incorrect?
The question is, how much concern is there that people are purposefully feeding bad information, putting bad information online so that the models will train on it and learn to say that bad information? Well, I mean, people have been putting true and false things online for a long time. In the early days of generative AI, aka 18 months ago, I asked, and this is going to make sense to two people in this room. I asked it what the answer to life, the universe, and everything was, and it said 42. That's a reference to a sci-fi book, and it said it because a lot of people who are online joke about that book. But 42 is not, as far as I am aware, the answer to life, the universe, and everything. It also said a lot of things about the COVID pandemic that may or may not have been true. And there is a lot of concern now about the falsehoods that may sneak into these models over the course of the next several months, because there are 64 national elections happening around the world this year, and one of them is ours. So there's concern about generative AI being used to generate and spread mis and disinformation, but there's also concern about mis and disinformation going into the model. In the country where I grew up, Pakistan, generative AI was heavily involved in causing the current constitutional crisis, where the prime minister is in prison, but his AI-generated avatar was giving talks. And so his party kind of won a plurality of the votes, and now they don't have a prime minister while they figure out what the heck is going on. That is not a situation we want to end up in. I will say the generative AI didn't get up in the morning and say, I'm going to make Imran Khan. Somebody did that. Right? So the blame, and I'm not excusing technologists, but humans always start it, and humans choose to spread it. And I think technology companies don't want to be in the business of deciding what's true and what's false. So it's a very complex question. In the US, a lot of that will be sorted out through lawsuits. Like the lawyer who sued because a generative AI system wrote something that appeared online that said his name and a very bad crime. And so he sued for libel. Yeah. Next question. Is this the last question?
Depends how
Okay.
long it takes you to answer.
Yeah, okay. Erin.
How are professors dealing with the papers that students turn in, and whether they're generated by the student or generated by AI?
Sure. The question is, how do professors deal with essays that students turn in that might have been written by the student or might have been written by generative AI? And the same question arises when you're with college application essays, CVs that people, or resumes that people use when they apply. You know, we can use generative emails that you receive. But specifically to the college question, different colleges and universities have, and high schools and middle schools have taken different approaches. Some initially banned the use of generative AI at all, which I don't believe in banning things that you can't identify easily. Other other colleges and universities and many faculty at Colby have integrated the use of generative AI into their pedagogy, because if this is a tool that's going to be available in our workplace going forward, we should learn how to use it to enhance the learning process and enhance our work, instead of just sort of like, oh, you can't use it. One of our faculty used the analogy to a pencil. You know, there used to be a job which was writer. You were a monk or similar, and you wrote for people with a quill. And then the pencil was invented, and it was this incredibly transformative technology, and people freaked out. And there were, you know, the equivalent of newspaper op-eds about how we shouldn't use pencils and stuff. And today we all use pencils. We don't worry unless you're sucking on the tip. So at some point, generative AI hopefully will be like the pencil. It's a tool that we use, and it's a tool that we know how to use well. So we teach writing in school now. And so professors come down on all sides on this question of whether that's the use of generative AI is plagiarism or academic misconduct or not. I will say one other thing. It's not. There are many vendors who will come and tell you that they will sell you a solution that detects whether the text is AI generated, but they are not 100% accurate. And the output is systematically biased against people who do not write standard American English. So you do not want particular demographics to be punished or wrongly accused just because you used an AI model. So it's a very complex issue.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stent. She will be here for a few minutes.
Thank you.
So if you have questions afterwards and want to approach Dr. Stent, please do so. I want to remind you to please fill out the evaluation forms on your table, and be sure to contact the chamber if you want to be a business spotlighter. We're going to do our drawing now for door prizes, and the first item is a $10 gift card and mug donated by Aroma Joe's, and that is going to Roger Kraus from Kennebec Water District. The second is a $10 Sala Tea. Roger's standing up in the back. The second is a $10 Sala Tea gift card donated by Sala Tea. And that's going to Nick Bollinger from Sheridan Corporation. We have a Fidium, he's over here. We have a Fidium swag bag and travel mug, and that's going to Xavier Colfer, who's a Kennebec Valley Community College student. We have a stemless wine glass and opener kit donated by Maine State Credit Union, and that's going to another student from KVCC, Brody Armstrong. Surratt donated a swag bag includes a visor, coffee tumbler, $15 Sala Tea gift certificate, and that is going to KVCC instructor of the business administration, Jim Chapman. Okay. Honest, they didn't all come in at once, so they shouldn't be. We have a $25 Dow's Quick Stop gift certificate donated by Dow's, and that's going to Casey Tilson from Surratt Real Estate. Maine Laboratories is donating a water bottle, swag bag, and a $25 Dunkin' Donuts gift card, and that's going to Jeremiah Elwell from Kennebec Journal Morning Sentinel. A New Dimensions Federal Credit Union swag bag donated by New Dimensions is going to Lance Libby of Central Maine Toyota. Which one is that? That's New Dimensions. Stemless wine glass and opener kit donated by Maine State Credit Union, oh, the irony, is going to Pam Kimball of Kennebec Savings Bank. We have a $45 valued Waterville Rotary Club Rotary Reads books donated by the Waterville Rotary Club. And those are going to Kim Hawks, owner of Own Real Estate. A $50 Caps's Pizza gift card donated by Caps's Pizza is going to John Butera of Skowhegan Savings. We have a $50 gift card to Hemp Hills donated by Hemp Hills, and that's going to Bridget Campbell of Bridget Campbell Consulting and Design. And last but not least, we have a $75 gift certificate voucher to Waterville Creates donated by Surratt Real Estate, and that's going to Bethany Roderick with Roderick Financial Services. So that concludes this morning's breakfast. Thank you. We hope to see you at an upcoming chamber event or our breakfast next month on the 11th. Have a great day.